So here we are. Christmas passed 3 days ago, and now we are journeying towards New Year's and a hopefully a joyous 2021. Because I know 2020 for many of us will not be a year that we will cry over, at least cry over for missing it. 2020 has been very difficult, and I know that many people before Christmas were really looking forward to Christmas. I could really sense a very palpable feeling of anticipation and joy that once Christmas comes, everything will be okay. Once we get back to a sense of normalcy and a sense of regularity, a sense of joy. I used to joke that once Santa Claus appears, everything will be better. And whether or not that happened for your Christmas, whether it was something very joyous and wonderful, or something that was perhaps, we can be frank and say maybe a little disappointing and sad because friends and family weren't able to come or we had to do something different. I do hope that the message of Christmas came across. Now, one thing that happens in our society is Christmas Day comes and then Christmas is put away. You go into the stores. I remember in regular times, you go into a store on Christmas Eve, sometimes even 2 or 3 days before Christmas, and all the beautiful trees, all the decorations, everything were put into bins in anticipation of the post-Christmas sales that would come on the 26th. And so all of the joy was sort of a letdown because you would find these boxes with ornaments and the beautiful trappings and trimmings of Christmas, sometimes broken and sitting in a box, ready to be sealed up. I remember I had an aunt who used to like to take her tree down the day after Christmas because Christmas was over. And I remember her son would get upset at her because he'd say, "Here you are, why are you taking the tree down?" But she was very picky and fastidious that, it was going to be messy, and so you just take it down. So whatever your tradition is, I mean, some people put their tree up the day after Thanksgiving and take it down the day after Christmas. Other people leave it up. In my family, we tend to keep our tree up through Epiphany. I'll tell you, sometimes through Martin Luther King Day. But we tend to keep our tree up longer. And either one is right, taking it down right away or leaving it up a little longer. They're both fine. Now, what I'm going to be talking about today is the idea that then Christmas is over and we can move on to whatever we need to do. I mentioned last time I preached about how Advent is the new year, the new liturgical year. And we begin with this period of anticipation, this period of waiting. And then we finally hear the good news born in a stable. And it doesn't end there. This is just the beginning. If you imagine January, we are barely, not even out of January, according to the church year. When I teach in Sunday school, I sometimes teach the liturgical year as a gift. And so as we are waiting, that's Advent. So we begin waiting for the gift. This is anticipation. And then at Christmas, the gift comes. As we move through Christmas, we start getting an idea of what the gift is and the purpose of the gift. And it starts being revealed to people what the gift is. And people from all over begin seeing the gift and they're like, "Wow, look at that gift. That gift is fantastic." And that is what we are in the middle of right now. through Christmastide, and as we move into Epiphany, we are getting the full revelation of what this gift means. Now, by the time we approach Lent, we can see Lent is really the instruction manual for the gift. Once we show it around, then we need to check out the instruction manual and begin to really see, how does this gift work? What are the practical applications? How do we really prepare to use this gift? And then as Lent gets closer, I'll explain more about what Easter, Pentecost, and post-Pentecost mean. So right now we are in this period of time where we are just beginning to experience Christmas. We had that period of waiting, that period of longing, and now there's the miracle in the manger. And so what happens next? Well, we talk about Three Kings Day, Epiphany, all the celebrations tied into that, the 12 days of Christmas. But in between those two festivals, there's an important thing that happens, and we don't cover it every year. Some years we cover different topics, but this year we are covering what is known as either the presentation or the purification of Jesus. And this involves two very, very important biblical characters. And it also kind of sets the framework for the household of Jesus and what Jesus is coming into. So we have a series of revelations happening in the New Testament. We begin with an angel coming to Zechariah, who's John the Baptist's father, and gives him good news that there is someone who will be born who will prepare the way for the Messiah. And Zechariah doesn't believe it. He just doesn't believe it. And so he is made silent. And it comes to pass that Elizabeth has a baby. She gets pregnant. The next good news comes to Mary, where an angel tells her that she is going to be the mother of the Messiah. And she says yes. We covered that during Advent. And then she goes to see Elizabeth. And immediately, Elizabeth's baby jumps inside of her. There is an immediate physical response. So where Zechariah is sort of in a state of disbelief, Elizabeth's response to the news is her baby leaps, and it's a very inward, physical type sign. And then the next good news we get is the shepherds. And the shepherds go and get the good news and come and see the baby and go out rejoicing and telling everyone, while Mary keeps everything in her heart. So the next part of the story, according to Luke, is a story of what they do when they go to purify and do an offering in the temple. Now, Mary and Joseph are very observant Jews, and they are following the law in Leviticus 12. It outlines what you have to do to both purify the mother and the baby after the birthing process. Now, this is really important because in order to be able to perform whatever they need to do in the temple, they need to be purified. They need to be able to present themselves well. And so Mary and Joseph go to the temple to offer this ritual sacrifice, which is 2 doves. And they bring Jesus. It wasn't required that they bring Jesus, but they bring Jesus along. And you have to remember that it's kind of a far distance. It wasn't like they just went down the street, like, if you lived in the neighborhood here and go stop by the church. So it was a little journey. So they brought Jesus with them, and immediately they encounter two very important people. One is Simeon, and the other person is Anna. And Luke has this wonderful way of putting this two-part revelation of a man and a woman. We saw Zechariah and we saw Elizabeth going back and forth in their announcement of the news, and then we see how different women respond to Jesus's ministry in the Gospel of Luke. So he's sort of setting up a really nice revelation here. Simeon was told in a prophecy, he was a prophet, he was told that he would not die until he saw the Messiah. And so, for whatever reason, the Holy Spirit led him to the temple that day, and he encountered Mary and Joseph and Jesus, and he gave out a shout that now you can release your servant, because I have seen the salvation of the Lord. There's a song, a chant that is done called Nunc Dimittis, which means now I can be released. And the prayer is sometimes said at funerals, but basically Simeon is saying, I am now fulfilled, I'm ready to die. I have seen the salvation of God, and it includes Gentiles. It includes the whole world. And so that is, really a big revelation. Then Anna, who I find even more remarkable than Simeon, is Anna is a widow. And after her husband died, she went into the temple and she would pray. She would stay there and pray and pray and pray. And she was 84 years old. Now, it's remarkable that Luke puts all these little secrets about Anna in there, that she was widowed. He even gives her a name. As you know from studying scripture, as many of us know from studying scripture, many times women weren't even named. But to name Anna and to say how old she is and the conditions of her life, that is remarkable. So she hears the news. She actually sees the news. She sees the baby, and immediately she starts proclaiming the good news. She starts evangelizing. She moves into good discipleship. So where Simeon takes it in and he sees the level of prophecy, he sees the whole big picture of world salvation, and he's ready to die. Anna is not ready to die. She's 84 years old, and she immediately starts proclaiming the good news to everyone. She starts telling everyone. And it's that wonderful Lucan response where women physically get it. They can't stand still. Their babies can't stand still. They do things. They move into discipleship. And it's not that one is wrong and one is right, but it does show that upon hearing the news of Emmanuel, of God in the world, God present with us, what do? Do you take it in? Do you sort of rest with it? Or do you go out into the world and do something? It's, as I always, from my Catholic background, the Martha-Mary dilemma. Martha would be doing things and Mary would be sitting at the feet of Jesus. And so is it the active or the passive? But as we know, it really isn't passive to study, because as Paul points out, we all have gifts. What I want you to take from this story, though, is to think about, yes, we all have gifts, but what are reactions? What are our reactions? And how many times, I've said it myself, oh my gosh, I am getting too old for this, or oh, maybe someone younger can take it over. Here we have a response from someone who is 84 years old. And we have Simeon, who they don't really give his age, but we know he's been around for a while. He's been waiting to die, but he's been hanging on to the joy. He's been hanging on to the hope. He's been hanging on to the possibility. So he does not die. And we don't even know if he died right away. All we know is he said, you can release your servant because I've seen it now. But his gift was in prophecy. And as the receiver of a gift, of a promise, he was then able to be released. In Isaiah, we hear about servants, and we hear about the suffering servant. And we as Christians tend to really focus on the suffering part of the servant in Isaiah 60. But there's also an aspect of fulfillment and joy in serving. We're not talking about harsh servitude, aside from the suffering servant, but the idea of being able to serve someone and to be able to help them be fulfilled is a really important concept. And so, so this is where Simeon is coming from, is that he has practiced his servitude and now he is ready to be released. So, as we approach Epiphany and we finish up this really unusual Christmas tide, let me ask you, are you ready to put Christmas away? Do you want to put Christmas away? What does it mean to put Christmas away? Is it possible to put Christmas away? Because when I was lighting the candles, I said, once that candle is lit, how can we put it out? How can we sit still? How can Anna stand still and not begin proclaiming? And this is where Psalm 148 comes in. Let everything praise God. I mean, when you hear that psalm, all of creation is active. Animals, trees, plants, the earth, even sea monsters, the stars, the moon, everything is active in proclaiming the glory of God. So, this Christmas season, as we celebrate the light in the world, I want you to think of the two aspects of life, of light and life. There's that aspect of revelation of what needs to be done and the possibilities of the kingdom of God. And then there's the other side of the glory of the light and the fulfillment of the promise. Both of them are full of rejoicing and hope. And so this is what I hope you are taking out of our Christmas season. You hear the old words about keep Christmas throughout the year. And it gets to be trite, but the possibility of Christmas, the possibility of the light, and how this gift is evolving, how this gift is changing, and how we, as God's people, are able to make an impact. I know this holiday season, as we did our multiplying gifts drive, we were able to transform a very generous gift into an even more generous gift and bring the light of Christ into the world. And this is what I hope that we can continue carrying through, even past this pandemic. So, my friends, continue growing in the light. Be like Anna and Simeon and recognize God with us when it's presented to you, because I'm sure many people were in the temple who didn't even notice, but they had their eyes open. And they weren't spring chickens either. So this is the good news. Thanks be to God.